Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because stories like this don't surface often, and when they do, they change how we see fame forever. For more than a decade, Katie Holmes chose silence. Not because she had nothing to say, but because sometimes survival demands quiet. To the world, she was part of one of Hollywood's most glamorous love stories, smiling on red carpets, holding hands with one of the most powerful actors on the planet. But behind those perfectly framed photographs was a reality far heavier than the public ever imagined. Now, at 45, Katie Holmes has finally allowed herself to reflect honestly on that chapter of her life. Her words don't come with anger or revenge. They come with the calm weight of someone who endured something deeply unsettling and lived to reclaim herself. As she retraces how a fairy tale romance slowly transformed into a controlled existence, the story becomes less about celebrity gossip and more about autonomy, fear, motherhood, and escape. This is not just a Hollywood marriage. It's a story about a system and the woman who found the courage to walk away from it. Long before Katie Holmes ever met Tom Cruise, she was a young actress living a dream many teenagers only fantasize about. Rising to fame through Dawson's Creek, she represented innocence, ambition, and optimism. In a 2004 interview with 17 magazine, she casually admitted that she admired Tom Cruise and even joked about marrying him someday. At the time, it felt harmless, almost prophetic in a sweet way. Katie was 26, confident, and just beginning to explore her potential in Hollywood. Tom, on the other hand, was 42, already a global superstar with immense influence, not only in the film industry but within Scientology. What Katie didn't understand then was that she wasn't just stepping into a relationship with a man. She was stepping into an ecosystem, one with rules, hierarchies, expectations, and power dynamics she had never encountered before. From the outside, it appeared like destiny. Two famous people finding love. But behind the scenes, forces far larger than romance were already in motion, shaping a future Katie never knowingly agreed to enter. What makes this story unsettling is what happened before Katie and Tom were ever linked publicly. According to former high-ranking Scientology officials, Tom Cruise had expressed frustration to church leadership about being unable to find a suitable partner. This reportedly triggered an internal effort to identify someone who would align with both him and the church. Previous partners had fallen away for one reason or another, often due to religious differences. What followed was described as a covert selection process, allegedly disguised as casting auditions. Actresses connected to Scientology were evaluated not on chemistry, but on loyalty, obedience, and willingness to conform. Former insiders later claimed that recordings existed, suggesting relationships were being engineered rather than organically formed. Katie, who had just ended her engagement to Chris Klein, suddenly appeared in Tom's orbit in early 2005. To fans, it seemed spontaneous. To those familiar with Scientology's inner workings, it looked planned. And Katie herself, she was unaware that her life was about to change in ways she wouldn't fully understand until years later. Once Katie and Tom were publicly linked, everything moved at a speed that felt thrilling, yet overwhelming. Their first public appearance in Rome was followed almost immediately by relentless media attention. Then came the infamous opera couch moment, a spectacle the public laughed at but never truly questioned. Behind that display was pressure, expectation, and performance. Tom was encouraged to demonstrate devotion publicly, while Katie was swept along by the momentum. Almost overnight, she was no longer just an actress. She was being reshaped into something else entirely. What raised concern later was how quickly her independence faded. She was rarely alone, often accompanied by individuals later identified as Scientology members. One woman, introduced as a close friend, appeared constantly at her side, answering questions and steering interactions. Their engagement followed just months later, staged as a romantic Eiffel Tower proposal. On the surface, it looked magical. In reality, the structure around her was tightening. Katie was falling in love, but she was also losing control, piece by piece, without realizing the cost. Soon after the engagement, Katie's life took another abrupt turn. Despite previously denying any connection to Scientology, she converted quickly. Friends and observers were confused by the sudden shift. During press tour, she appeared guarded, rehearsed, and rarely spoke freely. Interviews from that period now feel uncomfortable to watch. Her answers seemed filtered, her presence monitored. A Scientology chaperone frequently interrupted conversations, subtly redirecting narratives. Katie insisted she was happy, but the insistence felt more like reassurance than truth. When she became pregnant with Surrey, even that experience unfolded under unusual circumstances. Tom publicly admitted to buying medical equipment for home use, raising eyebrows among professionals. Boundaries that existed for most families didn't apply here. Their wedding, while lavish, was deeply embedded with Scientology rituals. David Miscavige stood prominently by Tom's side, reinforcing that this marriage wasn't just between two people. Katie had entered the church's inner circle, whether she fully understood it or not. From that moment on, her life was no longer her own. Motherhood should have been grounding for Katie, but instead, it became another source of tension. Scientology's teachings regarding children conflicted deeply with her instincts. Former members later revealed that children were not treated as children at all, but as fully formed spiritual beings. Stories emerged of adults speaking sternly to baby Surrey in ways that shocked outsiders. Katie never confirmed these accounts, but those close to her noticed a growing discomfort. While she tried to present a normal family image, decisions were influenced by people she barely knew. Household staff, assistants, and caregivers reportedly answered to church leadership. Privacy was an illusion. Every aspect of daily life was observed, reported, and managed. Katie's role shifted from partner to participant in a system she couldn't challenge. As Tom's status within Scientology grew, so did the expectations placed on her. She was expected to comply, adapt, and remain silent. And for a while, she did, because walking away felt impossible. By 2009, the public image remained polished, but the cracks beneath were widening. Katie appeared withdrawn, quieter, often alone. Rumors of marital strains surfaced, though she continued to publicly praise her life. Those who had watched Tom's previous marriages noticed a pattern. His relationships seemed to end when his partners reached a certain age and resisted deeper involvement with Scientology. As Katie approached that same point, fear began to replace denial. She had seen what happened to Nicole Kidman, labeled an outsider and separated from her children emotionally. The possibility terrified her. Katie began to understand that staying silent could cost her not only herself, but her daughter. The realization was slow, painful, and isolating, but once it took hold, it changed everything. Leaving wasn't a decision Katie could make impulsively. It required secrecy, precision, and courage. She understood that this wasn't just a marriage she was leaving. It was a powerful system with resources, influence, and reach. She hired multiple law firms in different states, used burner phones, and trusted only her father. Every move was calculated. She replaced staff quietly, secured a New York apartment, and waited for the right moment. Her goal was clear: protect Surrey at all costs. She feared indoctrination, loss of custody, and isolation. Waiting too long could mean losing everything. When she finally filed for divorce in 2012, Tom was out of the country. The speed of what followed shocked Hollywood. The divorce was finalized in just 11 days. To many, it seemed abrupt. To insiders, it was damage control. Suddenly, Katie was free, but freedom came with shock. She was a single mother in New York, rebuilding from the ground up. There were no handlers, no constant oversight, no voices correcting her thoughts. She had space to breathe, but also had to rediscover who she was. She embraced ordinary life, walking her daughter to school, riding taxis, making friends outside the industry. These small moments became healing. She later recalled simple acts of kindness that meant everything, like a taxi driver gently carrying a sleeping Surrey inside. It was humanity she had missed. Meanwhile, Tom's absence grew noticeable. Though he supported Surrey financially, his physical presence faded. Years passed without public sightings. Katie never criticized him, but the silence spoke volumes. As Surrey grew, Katie became both parents. She attended school events, birthdays, milestones, all on her own. Reports indicated Tom was not present, a distance many attributed to religious boundaries. Katie focused on giving her daughter a normal upbringing, free from doctrine and fear. Their bond became inseparable. Friends described their relationship as deeply trusting and protective. Financial support continued, but emotional presence did not. Katie accepted this reality quietly, choosing stability over conflict. She never publicly explained, but her actions told the story. Eventually, Katie allowed herself to love again, cautiously. A long-rumored relationship with Jamie Foxx remained hidden for years. The secrecy wasn't drama, it was protection. Only after certain restrictions expired did she step into the light again. Even then, she moved gently, aware of the cost of visibility. She had learned that privacy was power. Professionally, Katie reclaimed control. She returned to theater, independent films, and directing. She chose projects for passion, not approval. For the first time in years, no one filtered her interviews or shaped her narrative. Her voice returned slowly, but authentically. In later interviews, she spoke about learning to trust herself again. Those words resonated deeply. At 45, Katie no longer needed to pretend. She didn't attack, she reflected. She spoke about exhaustion, isolation, and the weight of silence. She acknowledged that she didn't understand what she had entered. The speed, the monitoring, the fear. Without nomming Scientology, she made the truth clear. At the center of everything Katie Holmes endured, every fear she swallowed, every risk she took, there was one unmovable truth: her daughter. Surrey was never a secondary concern or a chapter in the story. She was the reason for every silent calculation, every sleepless night, and every step Katie took toward freedom. Katie has never openly accused or attacked the world she left behind, but her reflections make one thing unmistakably clear. She believed that if she stayed, her daughter's childhood would slowly disappear. Scientology's philosophy toward children, its emphasis on discipline over innocence, structure over emotion, conflicted deeply with Katie's instincts as a mother. She wanted scraped knees, bedtime stories, school plays, laughter, and mistakes. She wanted Surrey to grow up feeling safe, not observed. To walk away from a powerful system meant risking everything she had built, but to stay meant risking her child's sense of self. Katie chose uncertainty over control, freedom over comfort, and protection over image. It wasn't dramatic. It was maternal. And in that quiet decision, she showed a kind of strength that doesn't need applause to be real. Katie Holmes didn't escape in a blaze of headlines or public accusations. She disappeared quietly, rebuilt slowly, and spoke only when she felt safe enough to do so. Her story challenges the illusion that wealth and fame guarantee freedom. Sometimes they do the opposite. What makes her journey so powerful isn't the celebrity, the lawsuits, or the whispers. It's the restraint, the choice to move forward without bitterness, the courage to raise a child alone without rewriting history into a spectacle. Today, Katie lives a life that looks ordinary by Hollywood standards, and that may be her greatest victory. She walks freely, speaks in her own voice, and defines success on her own terms. Her silence was never weakness. It was strategy, survival, and love. Now that she has finally allowed the truth to surface, the question isn't whether she walked away from something perfect. It's whether she saved herself and her daughter from something far more dangerous. If this story made you think, feel, or question what we're shown versus what's real, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. We'll see you in the next deep dive.